take us on to the roll call.
Commissioner Roden.
Present.
Vice Chair Sanchez.
Present.
Chairman Romero.
Present.
Commissioner Leggett.
Present.
Okay, we'll move on. Thank you very much. We'll move on to the Pledge of Allegiance. We'd ask Mr. Lopez, Attorney Lopez, to lead us with Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Lopez. We'll move on to the approval of the agenda. Commissioners, staff, Commissioner Sanchez.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, I would like to amend the agenda
Okay.
on Commissioners' report, the 11B, on the cell tower at the old armory. What the status is on that?
Okay. Any other changes?
So moved as amended.
Second.
Okay. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Leggett.
Yes.
Vice Chair Sanchez.
Yes.
Commissioner Roden.
Yes.
Chairman Romero.
Yes. Okay, we'll move on to citizen concerns, and this is for discussion only. Morning, everyone. Any thoughts, concerns from our public? Anyone wishes to speak? Okay, going once, twice. Okay, we'll move on then to item 6, the minutes, discussion, consideration, decisions regarding the following. And we do have just one set of minutes, the special meeting of June 10th, 2014, Commissioners.
Move to approve?
I will go ahead and second. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Leggett.
Yes.
Vice Chair Sanchez.
Yes.
Commissioner Roden.
Yes.
Chairman Romero.
Yes. Okay, we'll move on to item 7, contracts, agreements, MOUs, RFPs, and bids. Discussion, considerations, decisions regarding the following. Item A, contract TCC 2013-172 HEI Incorporated. Mr. Richard Sanchez, Construction Projects Administrator. Welcome. Good morning.
Chairman, Commission, what you have before you is the contract for part of the 911 configuration. This is for work that will be happening at the new sheriff's location, telephone switching, additional data ports, etc. And this is just first phase of 911.
Okay.
Questions?
And Richard, is this all going to be within, I mean, we're going to get it to fit in within the budget that we allocated?
Yes, sir. Currently, we are actually building a little bit of contingency. I realized this weekend that there's a couple little items that we missed, but we are, a few items were over, a few items were under, but we're staying on budget.
Okay. So move for approval.
Okay.
Next.
Okay. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Leggett.
Yes.
Vice Chair Sanchez.
Yes.
Commissioner Roden.
Yes.
Chairman Romero.
Yes. Okay, we have contract amendment, actually, item 7B, Amendment 1 to TCC 2013-126. It's a professional services contract with Northern Regional Housing Authority. Mr. Malone, good morning.
Mr. Chairman, this is the contract that was previously signed with the Northern Regional Housing Authority to address the transition period before they take over the public housing programs. All of the various documents are now with HUD in Washington, but they have not yet acted. We're told that we can expect it in the next 90 days, and this is to fill that gap. It's the same amount that was being paid to Northern Regional Housing Authority in the previous 90-day period, and this just allows the additional funding. It's going to come from HUD funds in any event.
Nothing from Taos County?
That's correct.
Okay. And you need an approval for this amendment?
That's correct, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioners, move for approval. Is there a second?
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Leggett.
Yes.
Vice Chair Sanchez.
Yes.
Commissioner Roden.
Yes.
Chairman Romero.
Yes, we'll move on to item 7C. This is a lease with Taos Coalition to End Homelessness Incorporated. Mr. Lopez, good morning again.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. If I might approach, please.
Mr. Lopez.
Mr. Lopez, if pretty soon you come with your hands bandaged up, we know that both our attorneys are fighting for Taos County.
Some are harder than others, apparently. Mr. Chair, members of the commission, this is a proposed lease agreement that I've drafted pursuant to the direction of the previous scheduled meeting, where the commission indicated that it wishes to enter into a 5-year lease agreement with the coalition, Taos Coalition and Homelessness Incorporated, so that it can move its modular building from its current location just to the east of the county commission chambers, across the street on Albright, just to the northwest corner of the property that the county owns across the street on Albright. I've given you a map which was prepared by Don Rael of the assessor's office, showing the proposed location of the quarter acre which the commission directed, on which it could install its modular building. This morning, I woke up in the middle of the night, as I sometimes do, and realized that I needed to add an acknowledgement for the signatories to the lease, and also a provision, which is a new paragraph 18, requirements of public authority. I'm not sure if there's any town zoning requirements that will be imposed, but I wanted to make sure that the lessee is the one that's obligated to comply with all of that. And so I added an additional paragraph in the lease insisting that they comply with all governmental requirements for their...
Mr. Lopez, more specifically, whereabouts is this property on this photo? If you can pinpoint it.
Oh, I made a copy of the wrong one. Let me, this is the fire station. And I have a copy, so if you want to just take a brief research, I can get that. It's on the...
Commissioners, is everyone fine? I think we're all fine.
I can just bring it to you in a few minutes, but it's on the northwest corner of the parcel, right next to Albright and just south of the Taos News.
Right.
I'm sorry, I had two things and I made the wrong one.
Okay, that's all right.
I apologize for that.
Maybe later for the record, Mr. Lopez, you can include it with our county clerk.
I will, and I'll bring it to the commissioners as well in just a few moments. It's on my desk. I just copied the wrong one.
That's fine. Okay, commissioners, any questions?
So move, Chairman.
Okay, I'll go ahead and second.
Discussion.
Discussion, Mr. Commissioner Sanchez?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, let me direct this to Commissioner Blankenhorn. Commissioner, is that Jay Wood still in charge there?
Yes, he is, Commissioner Sanchez. In fact, he's in the audience.
Where is the lady? Or Jay Wood or gentleman? Is it 751-0524? Is that the number? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Commissioner Sanchez. Any other comments or questions?
I will point out for the commission, if I might, Mr. Chair, that there is a provision on compensation in the lease. The lease, DFA approval is required for any leases by the county. And then if it's in excess of 5 years or in excess of $25,000, State Board of Finance is also required. Approval is also required. We have a estimated value that was submitted by Pavel Lukes at our request, which indicates that the fair market value is $300 a month. In order to satisfy procurement, we have a clause in there where the coalition is going to furnish us at the end of every fiscal year a list of services that it provides on behalf of Taos County to the homeless in order to satisfy the compensation requirement. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention as well.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Lopez. Any other questions or comments, commissioners? If not, I believe we do have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk?
Yes.
Vice Chair Sanchez.
Yes.
Commissioner Brody.
Yes.
Chairman Romero.
Yes. Okay, we'll move on then to item 7D. This is contract TCC 2013-179 between Taos County and the Humane Society of Taos Incorporated. Mr. Malone, back again.
Mr. Chairman, this is the contract that we spoke about at our last commission meeting. It has several new clauses that I want to focus on in a moment, but just first assure you that it is basically, with the exception of those new clauses, the same contract that we've previously entered into with Stray Hearts for providing care of stray animals in Taos County. It is for the same amount as the most recent renewal of the Stray Hearts contract, which is $12,000 a month or $144,000 a year. The commission indicated at the last meeting that there were a number of clauses that they wanted to see included in the contract. That has been done. The first is that the county will have the right to go ahead and hire an independent veterinarian to audit the practices and policies at the animal shelter, and it provides for immediate termination in the event that that audit is not satisfactory to the county. It also provides that the county will be entitled to appoint 2 members of the board of directors of the Humane Society, and it allows for a period of till September 1 of 2014 if it turns out that the bylaws of the Humane Society don't allow for this to happen immediately, that they have to be amended in some fashion. And one of the other requirements was that it be terminable on 30 days. That's a standard clause in most of our contracts. That is in this contract as well. And I would point out to the commission that there was one other item that came up during the preparation of the contract, and that is that the Secretary of State lists the nonprofit corporation as currently not in good standing, and we've indicated, gave them 60 days to achieve good standing. That's something that is normally just having failed to file some report. It's usually not a big deal, and most nonprofits can cure that in a matter of a week or 2.
Okay. And you recommend approval at this time?
I do, Mr. Chairman. Obviously, we need to deal with the issue of strays in Taos County, and this was sent out to RFP. The Humane Society was the only responding entity, so they're the only people that are currently available.
Okay, and Mr. Malone, have you received any word from the board on the issue of the 2 board members? And I understand that the town of Taos has also had the same discussion, and with regards to the board member, I have the 2 questions. It's those 2 board members, both from the town and the county. Also, the hiring of a vet to go in and certify. I believe the town has discussed the same idea.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Archuleta had that discussion with the Humane Society, so I'll let him address that question.
Thank you, Mr. Malone. Commissioner Sanchez first.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Mr. Malone, on this appointment, I've got a lady that's out of Cuesta that works with the Friends of the Animals, and she would be interested in that appointment if down the road, if you need somebody.
Thank you. We'll make a note of that and get back in touch. It would have to be done at another commission meeting, obviously.
And I also have a gentleman from Ranchos that is very much interested in serving on the board.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, just for your information, basically, I went and met with Ms. Jan Gordon, from the director of Stray Hearts, just to advise her of what the commission had voted on last week and what we were going to be putting into the contract. Ms. Gordon basically said that, you know, she's not sure that the board would accommodate that. There are board members here today, and I'd like to listen to the board members if possible to talk about that. I don't know if the city has moved forward with the same amendments to their contract. It was kind of an agreement that sort of happened that the city would move forward on that. And so that's where we stand as of today, Mr. Chairman. We basically alerted them that this was going to be coming forward today, and that was going to be the basis of the contract. And there are some board members here today that would like to address the commission, reference that.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Archuleta. Good morning.
Good morning.
State,
Good morning, Commissioners.
State your name for the record.
My name's Mary D'Amato. I serve as the president of the Board of Directors of Stray Hearts Animal Shelter. What I'd like to do is start by just reading the mission statement that all us board members adhere to with respect to our positions on the Board of Directors. Stray Hearts Animal Shelter of Taos is a nonprofit, tax-exempt organization wholly dedicated to interim, compassionate, and humane care and rehabilitation for lost and abandoned domestic canines and felines, upholding their rights for such, protecting them from abuse, neglect, exploitation, and placing them into responsible and loving homes. Stray Hearts is also committed to domestic canine and feline population control and public education to ensure long-term positive management of their populations in the area. Just so everybody's clear. The Board of Directors is not going to be able to allow outside board members appointed to the board. The reason I think we're here today is over the last few months, the controversies, the emails, and the allegations. Let us just say that as we proceed forward in a legal fashion, in a legal mediation, you will find that all of these charges are unsubstantiated and untrue. As such, adding more board members would only promote there is no dysfunction on the board, let's say that. We're united. We have a united vision. The dysfunction is from the fact that a few people who have their own agendas are creating a controversy. So as such, it's in the best interest of the shelter to not add any more people at this time, but to allay your concerns about these allegations that have come forward. Since we are a 501(c), our board meetings are public. Anybody can attend them at any time. What maybe we could do to promote that is to post our regular board meeting days and times on the Stray Hearts website. Anybody can come and sit down and see how the board approaches the business of overseeing the operation of the shelter. I can't think of anything else at this time, but it is clear that appointing town or county representatives is not the solution. The Executive Director, Jan Gordon, also informs me that approximately 85 to 90% of the 200 animals that are at the shelter come from the county and the town. So it is my hope that we can continue to just do the good work of the shelter while at the same time finding a way to assuage your concerns of the few people that have been emailing the allegations and the charges and the grievances. Thank you very much.
Okay. Commissioners?
Mr. Chairman?
Commissioner Blankenhorn.
Mary, thank you so much for your service with the shelter. I think the position that the county has taken, and hopefully that the town will also take, is that this is a very public function, and therefore the board needs to be accountable to the public in ways beyond those that you described. My understanding is that it currently is a 5-person board, and the board gets to choose their own members. For such an important public function, I think that the commission and many of the town leaders have come to the conclusion that there needs to be an additional level of accountability. And the proposal is not about appointing representatives from either governmental entity. The idea is that the elected officials who hear from a wide range of their constituents would get to choose from the public at large those citizens who have devoted much of their time and energy to the same purpose that you read in your mission statement. And it strikes me as just being maybe even additionally important that we have an expanded board, with the board being so intent upon keeping its own membership, small and within its own control. So, for example, the hospital. The town and the county get some input into hospital board members. I think it's a fairly common situation when a nonprofit is dealing with such an important public function, and I can't really, for the life of me, understand the strenuous objections. And so my hope is that both the town and the county will continue to take this position and, negotiate in good faith with the Humane Society to get this done. Otherwise, I guess we'd be at some sort of an impasse and we'd have to temporarily look for other options, but that's my hope.
Thank you, Commissioner Blankenhorn. Well said. I too agree with Commissioner Blankenhorn in that it would be a good idea for Taos County and the town of Taos to both have representatives on this board, since we do contribute such a large amount of public funding to Stray Hearts. Mr. Malone, what is the total amount of the contract from Taos County? And Commissioner Barone, Mayor Barone, if you can tell us as to what the town of Taos will be contributing as well.
Mr. Chairman, in the case of the county, it's $144,000 annually, $12,000 a month.
Okay,
And we a little bit less than that, Commissioner. And Bob, I just want to ask you a little question. We, in this negotiation, or the direction, I thought the direction was one from each entity, and I thought there was two total, but one from each entity.
It was my understanding that it was two, and I think it was correct. Commissioner Blankenhorn's motion, so maybe he could confirm it.
Yeah, no, I did make the motion for two for each entity.
Correct.
And that would not represent a majority on the board, but it would be at least a strong plurality, I guess is the word.
And that certainly is a lot more money than we contribute to other human services, community against violence, and even our ancianos, I believe. It's a lot more money than we contribute to them. So this is something that is close to the heart of the commission, and we feel strongly about it.
Is it a law that the county has to donate money to? What was the last nonprofit you mentioned?
I mentioned Community Against Violence. I've mentioned Ancianos, the Senior Citizens Program.
Is the county commission required, or the county required by law to give to these entities? Okay, so there's a law. My curiosity is that, from what I understand, there is a state law that a town and county must have an animal shelter or a facility in a way. So right now you're paying Stray Hearts to perform that function.
Correct.
Okay, so if it were not Stray Hearts, then you could possibly have your own, you could do it yourself basically, and have it be a municipally run.
Mr. Malone.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
I don't know if you've ever done a cost analysis of what the cost of that would be.
Mr. Malone.
But what I can say is the town and county contribution to Stray Hearts combined takes care of barely about 40% of the operating costs of the shelter, whereas it's handling 85 to 90% of the animals.
Very good point. Thank you so much.
Mr. Chairman, the statutory requirements for stray animals are relatively bare bones. They don't dictate an animal shelter. They simply dictate a means of, it says that the county has the responsibility to deal with stray animals. I don't remember the exact wording, but it sounds like doing away with them.
Okay. Okay. Any other comments?
There's a few people.
Look it up at 77.1-12. That's the law. Could we read that law so we know exactly what it says?
Mr. Malone.
I don't carry the statutes with me.
Right.
If the commission would like, we can get a copy of it and put it up on the...
Sure.
On a table for right now?
Sure. Good idea, Mr. Archuleta is, oh, you've got something else. We'll go ahead and move to table at this time until we get the necessary documents that were required or asked of the commission to be read this morning.
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Yes.
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 Yes. Okay. We will listen to the matter in just a few minutes. Next, we'll move on to item 8. This is resolutions and ordinances, discussion, consideration. Decisions regarding the following. Item A, we have Resolution 2014-28, a resolution establishing the Taos County Planning Department fee schedule. Mr. Edward Vigil, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners, Mr. Archuleta, Mr. Malone, staff, members of the public. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, I respectfully come before you today to request approval of Resolution 2014-28, a resolution establishing the Taos County Planning Department fee schedule as presented or as amended. The Taos County Planning staff has been busy revising applications such as the special use permit, major development permit, the zoning clearance, appeals, and variance applications, and with the creation of the new applications such as the home occupation, temporary permit, administrative permit, and rezoning in accordance with Ordinance 2014-1, the Taos County Land Use Regulations, and in preparation of the land use regulations becoming effective on or about July 11th, 2014. In addition, a planning department staff meeting was held on June 23rd, 2014 for the purpose of discussing the proposed fees for the applications identified in Resolution 2014-28. As a result of the planning department staff's meeting, planning staff agreed on the fees identified in Resolution 2014-28. It is the planning department's recommendation to approve the aforementioned fee schedule by resolution rather than by ordinance, so that if necessary, adjustments can be made to the fees without readopting the entire land use regulations, and so as to also eliminate amendments to the land use regulations every time that a fee adjustment is proposed. The fee schedule proposed in resolution number 2014-28 reflects the anticipated increase in planning staff's time in reviewing applications in accordance to Ordinance 2014-1, the Taos County Land Use Regulations. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, assisting me this morning is Chief Planner Nathan Sanchez, who we both stand for any questions that you may have. I also want to pose a question to you that or make reference before I pose the question. Included in the fee schedule or not included in the fee schedule is any reference to neighborhood zone overlays. I want to plant the seed and ask the question if you, the board of county commissioners, feel comfortable or deem it appropriate to initiate a fee for any neighborhood zone overlay who is proposing an amendment to the land use regulations, if you want to consider that as part of the fee schedule as well. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners.
Thank you, Mr. Vigil. And with regards to the copy of the land use regs, how many pages is that? 170?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, 146.
146, and is $10 sufficient to cover that?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, in terms of when you say $10, is that the copying cost for a document?
The proposed, yeah.
I would suspect that is sufficient.
Sufficient, including staff time?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, just I could walk you through the proposed fee schedule if you would like. It should have been part of your packet. Again, the proposed fee schedule reflects what planning staff anticipates is an increase in staff's time in reviewing the submitted applications in compliance with Ordinance 2014-1. We've indicated to you under a zoning clearance application that the existing fee is $50. We are proposing increasing the fee to $150, which also includes site visits. As part of a zoning clearance application, which would be the norm for a building permit, the inspection fee is included as part of the requirements of the land use regulations. Prior to planning staff issuing a building permit, staff is required to perform a site inspection to make sure that it meets applicable setbacks, that it's not being constructed under power lines, et cetera, et cetera. The next one is a home occupation, customarily or traditionally known as your cottage industry. Presently, there is no fee associated with a home occupation, and we are proposing a fee of $50. Under the next one that we have for you is the temporary permit. I hope that made its way into your packet. If it did not enter into the packet, we inadvertently left that particular request out. Under the request for a temporary fee, presently there is no fee associated. We are proposing a fee of $50. Under an administrative permit, this is a new procedure, and this is the same procedure, the same requirements that would normally be held to a special use permit. However, this process has been given to the planning director to allow the planning director or designee in the office to go ahead and approve administrative permits. We are proposing an application fee of $250. Under a special use permit fee, we are proposing a fee of $500, an increase from $200 to $500. Under the major development review permit fee, we are proposing a fee of $1,000, increasing the fee from $500. The big jump on the major development review fee is, I don't know if you were aware or not, but presently as it stands in our existing land use regulations, and it's proposed in the new regulations that go into effect on July the 11th, a major development permit requires 2 public hearings. Under the new regs, it's going to require a public hearing in front of the Planning Commission, where the Planning Commission will make a recommendation, and then ultimately the final plan or the final approval will be before you, the Board of County Commissioners. So that's why there's a significant increase in the major development permit fee. Under the appeals fee, we're proposing a fee of $500, increasing the fee from $200. Under the variance fee, we're keeping that the same as $200 as is presently identified in our present fee schedule. Under rezoning, there is no fee presently charged for rezoning. Excuse me. Under rezoning, we are presently charging $200. We are proposing an increase of $500. The site visit fee, this is an additional fee, and this is a fee in the event that planning staff needs to go out to the site to perform additional site inspections. We have discovered, or we have actually experienced in the planning department, presently, whenever an individual is awarded approval of a zoning clearance or part of the zoning clearance process, a physical address is issued to the applicant, and the applicant is required to place a physical address on the site in order for planning staff to find the location to do the site inspection. Right. It has been our experience that in some cases the applicant has failed to place the physical address on the site, so planning staff is unable to locate the site, thus the subsequent site inspection. Next, again, the copy of the land use regulations. We feel comfortable with the $10 fee. That's been the existing fee. We're proposing the same fee. Copy of the comprehensive plan is the same fee. The copies and faxes, we're charging 50 cents, and that's in accordance, I believe, with all other departments in Taos County. And then the fee for not obtaining a land use permit, this is actually found in Ordinance 2014-1, and it is specific that allows the planning director at his discretion to impose a double application fee if necessary for commencing a development absent of a permit. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, I was hopeful that Mr. Brian Cribben, our Taos County floodplain manager, would be here today so he could identify for you the rationale as to the fees associated with the floodplain review. Unfortunately, Mr. Cribben had a death in the family, is out of state this week. But in terms of the floodplain review fee, we are increasing the fee from $10 to $30. And it is my understanding that the review for a subdivision is completely silent at this time, and we're proposing the lesser of either $30 times the number of lots or $1,000. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, Commissioner Blankenhorn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As to your first question about should we impose a fee for the zoning overlay, who would pay that fee?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, that's a good question. We didn't know if the respective neighborhood would be the responsible party for paying that fee, or if there's no fee associated with a neighborhood overlay submitting an application to the county.
It ends up being an amendment to our ordinance, and there's no precedent for us charging any fees to amend any of our ordinances, so I don't think that would be appropriate. I'm also concerned about the doubling of fees. I really hate to see that, frankly. And, you know, I don't know what the planning department's budget is and how much the general budget supplements the planning department and what difference that would make. You know, all of those are relevant questions, but I sure would like to know if these fees would be competitive with other counties, you know. I'm just concerned. I'm concerned about putting an additional financial burden on our economic development in this way. So I'd like some more information.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioner Blankenhorn, point very well taken. We in the planning department also had a difficult time in proposing this fee schedule to you. We come to you obviously open for discussion, open for any amendments to this particular fee schedule that we may have. We as planning staff actually did a little bit of research in anticipation of your question. What I would like to propose now and introduce is the planning permit fee schedule for Los Alamos County, so you could have an idea of what that is.
Well, you've picked the richest county in the country, if not, you know, the state, but maybe even the country. So,
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Blankenhorn, we got other counties as well.
Okay, thank you.
We'll begin with Los Alamos County, and unfortunately, I don't have a copy of that before me, so I can't reference to you what the fees are. But if we look at the fee schedule there, we're looking at similar applications that we are proposing through our land use regulations. An appeals fee of $200, a rezoning of $500 plus $25 per acre. Nathan, if you want to scroll that up a little bit. Unlike, and let me just emphasize, a lot of these counties that we ask for comparisons charge a site plan review fee. We in Taos County do not charge a site plan review fee, and that is why we also anticipate or requested the increase of the fee in the applications, because we also do the review of the site plan as well, and that's why we felt it would be justified. For Los Alamos County, they charge a $300 fee for a special use permit. Our present fee is $200. We're proposing an increase of up to $500, obviously open for discussion. A temporary use permit, which is also one of the proposals that is identified in the fee schedule. Los Alamos County is requesting $25, while I believe under a temporary permit we're proposing $50. A zone code amendment is basically, I would suspect, what we would call a zoning clearance. I'm not exactly sure what that is in reference to Los Alamos County. But if you have any questions, we'll be more than happy to address that one. I'd also like to introduce to you a handout of the fee schedule for San Miguel County. And so, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, here on this fee schedule for San Miguel County, you'll notice the appeals is $75. We are proposing $500. A business license is $35. Obviously, that's an entirely different ordinance, but we do also charge $35, Taos County. Conditional permit is and should be considered pretty much a special use permit. They charge $200, but once again, we're assessing a $500 fee. Flood zone permit, they're proposing they charge $50. What we're proposing, I believe, is $35 or $30. I apologize. Rezones, $100. Statement of vacation is in association to the subdivision regulations, not applicable at this time. A temporary use permit, $40. We're proposing $50. A variance is $40. We're proposing $200, and that's the existing fee. A zoning clearance review, they classify it based on hours. They're looking at a minimum of less than 1 hour, $20, more than an hour, $30 per lot. And then obviously they have the zoning ordinance and the regulations that they identify a fee for. And this is, once again, is for San Miguel County. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, next we have for you Santa Fe County. Santa Fe County really is detailed. They're specific in terms of their fee schedule. Their fee schedule also comprises the fee schedule for developments or for some items that we don't identify. And it also identifies within their fee schedule, they've grouped them all together, subdivision applications. Nathan, can you maybe scroll up a little bit, Nathan? Go ahead, Nathan, scroll up some more. Or to the next page, maybe. Okay, Okay, we identified obviously land subdivision issues here that isn't applicable at this time. Scroll up some more, Nathan. That's not applicable at this time either. This is for subdivisions as well, not applicable. Here we go. In terms of a business registration, they also charge $35. A home occupation or a home business, they charge, Santa Fe County charges $175. We have not identified, obviously, the grading and clearing permit or demolition permits. Those are identified under our building code and under a different zoning ordinance or different fee schedule. Nathan, can you go ahead and scroll up or the next page? Okay. Well, apparently, I thought that there was some language on here that talked about conditional permits or special use permits, and it does not appear that it's identified in this fee schedule for Santa Fe County. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, the last fee schedule that we have available for you is the fee schedule from Rio Arriba County. So, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, moving along here, they address a lot of the permits that we have. We'll start first with a special use permit. They're assessing a fee of $75, which is really extremely low, even from our existing fee that we have of $200. Their master plan permit, I would suspect, is their major development permit. I'm not exactly 100% sure what that would be. They're proposing $75. A tower permit, under our regulations, that would fall under a special use permit. A tower permit of $100, a temporary use permit of $20, a home occupation permit, it appears, of $30, dedication of burial. Moving along in terms of flood a review, it appears that they're charging, I'm not actually, I apologize, that's a misread on my part, that's not related to flood. Special use permit, they're charging $75. A temporary extraction permit, $75 as well. Their copies, they're advising what their copies are. The rest of the stuff is not applicable. So, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, by comparison, the fee schedule that we're proposing is a substantial increase to other counties in the area. We, again, are open for discussion. This was a proposal that we as planning staff at a staff meeting that we had felt comfortable in proposing. If you deem this fee schedule to be excessive, at minimum, we would respectfully request to keep the existing fee schedule that is in place. Mr. Chairman,
thank you, Edward. Mr. Sanchez, if you can leave it at the Rio Arriba, since you brought it up, I'm curious now. If you can move down on the temporary or the dedication of the burial ground permit, any idea as to what that is?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, I would suspect similar to what we have in our existing subdivision regulations and within our claim of exemption application or claim of exemptions. As you're aware, within state statute and the Taos County subdivision regulations, there are 13 exemptions that are not viewed or considered a subdivision. Exemption number 8 allows a person to designate a burial plot, whether it be in a cemetery or whether it be on your private property. We recognize that through our subdivision regulations, and we've also actually included language in these land use regulations that allows a person to designate a burial plot as long as you meet other applicable state and county and federal regulations.
I see. Thank you very much. And then the other one is the extraction permit. Sounds like a dental appointment of some sort. Is that for gravel, sand?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, I would suspect that that is in fact an extraction permit. We, for gravel and sand, we under Taos County regulations govern that or rule that through our existing building code, which indicates if you excavate or you remove or you import more than 50 cubic yards of earth, you are required to obtain what is known as an excavation permit.
Okay, thank you very much.
Chairman.
Commissioner Baroni.
And Edward, thank you guys for doing the work you do, but I do believe this will further impact our economic development within our community, and I feel that we need to revert back to the amounts that we were originally charging, and there shouldn't be a fee for the overlay zones. So just my feedback, you know, in developing these new land use regs, my impression or my take on it was that it would make it easier and it would not impact that industry any further. So again, that's my take on
Is that a form of a motion there, Commissioner?
Yes.
Second.
Okay, any other discussion? I have a couple of questions. Mr. Sanchez, if you can post the schedule back, the proposed fee schedule, along with the existing. Mr. VIII, is there, obviously, I mean, there's always a need for more money, but if you can further substantiate your argument as to why you need to make these increases.
First, Mr. Chairman, if I may, and Commissioners, obviously, we've indicated too that we believe that based on the new applications that will be created in respect to the new levels of use or levels of review associated with the land use regulations, we anticipate additional staff time in performing these reviews, and it's all based on staff time. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, and Commissioner Baroni, with all due respect, planning staff recognizes that these fees are substantial. We, at minimum, again, support the existing fees that are proposed or that are identified in our existing land use regulations. However, some of the fees associated with some of these permits are not presently identified. So if we could also ask for you to take into consideration that you possibly look at considering a home occupation fee, that you also look at considering a temporary permit fee. And once again, these are respectfully being asked of you. If you choose to not assess a fee, we accept that, but we also like to allow the opportunity for you to consider imposing some type of fee on these reviews. Once again, the home occupation fee, a temporary permit, an administrative permit, and I believe that should cover the three areas that we believe we should also look at generating a little bit of income in terms of review of these applications.
You did mention site visit.
And additional site visits, and obviously we're open for discussion on that as well.
Okay.
Chairman, if we may, could you give us a little, I don't know, on an administrative permit, what would be involved on staff time?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, obviously there is one standardized application that we're going to be creating for an administrative review. It's all dependent on the type of the development that is being proposed. I don't have an example that I could share with you, but obviously some reviews will be less strenuous or less stringent than other reviews because some of the performance standards may not be required for every application, and some of them may be a simple response that's not applicable. So let me just say that under existing special use permit requirements, when we do a review, staff's time obviously varies. The review time for a special use permit where it is proposed as a cell tower could be anywhere from maybe 4 to 6 hours. Review time when you propose under a special use permit where you're proposing, for example, a gas station similar to what's proposed in El Prado for the new Polk Oil or the Western Refinery gas station, you're probably looking at about 10 to 12 to 14 hours in review of that particular one because there's more stringent performance standards that they need to apply with. So it's dependent on the respective application. There's not a standardized or set amount of time that each application, that we could provide a review on each application.
Okay.
Knows what an administrative permit is.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, and in terms of what an administrative permit is, if that was your intent or your question, let me just explain to you what an administrative permit qualifies for. Nathan, do you know the exact section on that?
Application review process.
Mm-hmm.
And the only difference between is an administrative permit. has the same requirement.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, there is a specific section in the regulations, and I'm trying to identify a specific section where it talks about, for example, an administrative permit could be for development on slopes that are in excess of a 20% grade, as long as it's not considered a high-impact development area. So if somebody comes into the planning office and requests an administrative approval for development on slopes of 20% or greater, as long as the WUI, the Comprehensive Plan for Fire Prevention for Taos County, identifies it as a medium impact area, then we could review that administratively rather than sending it to a public hearing in front of the Planning Commission. That would be one area. There's other areas that I'm trying to identify for you, and I had it marked, and I just can't locate that specific area at this moment.
Mr. Chairman? Edward, going forward, once the overlays are in place, I think that the most significant use of the administrative permit is going to be those uses that have been designated permitted within zoning areas. And that can be fairly extensive. That can be similar to the special use permit review, except that there would be no hearings.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, that is absolutely correct. And then if I may just do a little bit of sidebar, Commissioner Baroni, I hope that we addressed your question, but in terms of back to the overlays, I don't want to lose this train of thought, and I just want to do a sidebar. In terms of the overlays, again, you were very perfectly clear that you didn't want to impose a fee on the applications for overlays, but I also want you to know or to take into consideration that these overlays that may be proposed will require 2 public hearings. They're going to require a public hearing in front of the Planning Commission for recommendation purposes, and then obviously they're going to require a public hearing in front of you, the Board of County Commissioners, for approval. Can any consideration be given to be clear that at minimum the legal notices will be covered by the overlays, or are we, the county, going to absorb the costs for the legal advertisements for these overlays as well?
Mr. Archuleta.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner, I just wanted to jump in a little bit and talk about, part of what Taos County has been doing is professionalizing staff and trying to make sure that all our staff are licensed within Taos County. In order to do that, a lot of the fees that you see on here are basically for developments, zoning clearances, those kind of things that are the higher fees. A lot of these fees would not necessarily hit our local community people who are just basically living in their homes and continuing to live in their homes. It's actually developments and development people coming into Taos County wanting to develop and make a business, build a tower, those kind of things. They spend $150,000 on some of these cell towers, make $1 million off that with the different Verizon and the different thing, and it really takes a lot of staff's time, as you saw with the Beausoleil subdivision and the packets for that. I mean, staff spent weeks, if not a month, on that, reviewing those applications and going through those. And so the other thing that I want to caution the commission on is on these community overlays. If we don't charge a fee for those and people can come in and do them, we could have them in here every week, and we could tie up all of our staff time. If there's some kind of a fund or money tied to it to where they have to pay for every time they're going to come in and do a community overlay. Again, if you have a community decides that they want to go ahead and do something, and then 3 months later the board changes and they want to do something different, and then 3 months later the board changes, they want to do something else, staff is going to have to be involved in that process. The public hearings are going to have to be prepared, and we're not going to be able to do business in Taos County as we continue to do business because we're so tied up with these. So part of that is that people really bring those in front of the commission when it's absolutely necessary and when they have it ready to go, and it's something that hopefully will stay for some time. Economic development, I think that we want to be as friendly as possible, but I would have a problem with somebody who's wanting a zoning clearance and can't pay $150 but can invest $1 million into that property. So that's just my comments.
Okay. Commissioner Blankenhorn.
Thank you. The overlay is going to be a lot of work for staff. planning department, legal department. It's going to be a lot of work for the commission too. But so have the LURs. I mean, this is part of the process that we began many years ago. And the overlays are going to establish the zoning throughout the county that becomes part of our land use regulations. And I just cannot see us charging neighborhoods who are sharing in the work to help us develop our land use regs. I also can't see us charging for publication. I mean, when we do any ordinance, we bear the cost of all publications, and I don't think that this should be any different. I do agree with Steve in the sense that there can be some very expensive and potentially lucrative developments that could afford a higher fee, and I wonder if planning considered doing a graded structure like Santa Fe did. In other words, the cost of the project could have some relationship to the fee. That would kind of address the county manager's issue that he brought up. And I also wondered why you didn't include subdivision in this, since it's just a resolution. It's not particularly part of the LUR. It seems like the other counties have done that, and makes sense to me that we would also include the fee schedule for subdivisions within the resolution. And one more thing is just thank you for your presentation and bringing all these competitive fees to us. It's really helpful.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioner Blankenhorn, in terms of your first comment, we haven't given it much consideration to come up with a fee schedule similar to Santa Fe County. Obviously, we were pressed for a little bit of time in getting here before the implementation of the regs or taking place on July the 11th. In terms of the fee schedule, as to why we didn't bring the subdivision fee schedule in front of you as an attachment or part of this fee schedule, the existing fee schedule for the subdivision regulations are under ordinance. Those are under Ordinance 2005-8, the existing subdivision regulations, and therefore we would have to basically do an amendment to those regulations. That's why we're proposing this fee schedule as a resolution rather than an ordinance.
Okay. I should remember that since we drafted it back in the day. Yeah. Thank you.
If I could make a comment on that too. That question came up as whether we should adopt this by ordinance or by resolution, and there is a reference under the new land use code that requires all applicants and everyone to pay the fees that are imposed by the planning department. So we thought the resolution would be easier, more easily adopted and amended down the road.
And Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, further, Commissioner Baroni, to address your question a little bit more about administrative, under the permit requirements, Article 4, I found the area that I was looking for. The following uses require an administrative permit. Number 1, non-residential permissive uses adopted under this ordinance or a zone overlay that are applied for and on an already developed site that propose more than an increase of 20% or more of existing floor space or applied for an undeveloped site. Number 2, residential construction as indicated in the WUI map as published in the Taos County Wildfire Protection Plan. Number 3, public parks and recreation. Number 4, public facilities and infrastructures, including firehouses, schools, libraries, and utilities. And lastly, number 5, any development not in a high-impact WUI area on a 20% slope or more as determined by the planning department. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners.
Okay.
And Chairman, I just maybe then want to go back and rethinking this just a little bit and amend my motion or withdraw my motion and then make another motion if I may.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Baroni. Commissioner Sanchez, you seconded.
I'm just going to either amend or withdraw my motion. I guess would be withdraw my motion and then make an additional motion for clarification.
I second.
Friendly second on that, or removal of the second. Madam Clerk, for the record. So Commissioner Baroni, go ahead again.
And so then moving forward, if we take these line by line, I just want to make some proposals for the commission under the zoning clearance. If we would under zoning, if you'd leave that up.
Nathan, why don't you?
Nathan, if you leave that up for us, please.
Let me just ask the question in an effort to clean it up. I don't want to delay. I think I know where you're coming from, Commissioner Barone, but perhaps maybe the staff, they've listened to the concerns that we have. Maybe going back to your staff meeting, the drawing board, and making some changes based on what this commission has argued or suggested. Would it behoove you to go back and make those changes and then come back again for final approval versus?
And the only reason I was trying to get them a starting point is because I think they have to have something in place by the 11th, and I don't think we have an additional meeting between now and then. That's the only reason I was trying to get it moved forward. And it'll give us a starting place. Some of these, because of the new land use regs we placed, there's going to be additional staff time, and I understand that. And so I would just,
go ahead,
if you'll bear with me, we'll go zoning clearance. I do understand that there's going to be additional work. The proposed of $150, I think, would be a fair and fair fee. The home occupation, I would recommend that we reduce that in half to $25 to give you a starting point. I think $50 could be in excess. Somebody just wanting to put something in their home, this would at least starting point. The temporary permit of $25. The administrative permit, I think that proposed $250 with the amount of new work that would be generated is fair and equitable. The special use permit, I think, should be where it is today at the present. The major development would be $500 where it is. And then the appeal also $200, variance $200, rezoning $200, and the site visit I think should be, I think we could live with that $50 that's proposed. I know it takes a lot of staff time, fuel, and.
Okay, Mr. Vihil, your thoughts.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Commissioner Barone, points very well taken. Only just one recommendation for you. Under the special use permit, it is the same review performance criteria as an administrative permit. So if I could ask that you respectfully reconsider that to either make it the same fee of a $250 for an administrative, for a special use permit as you did for an administrative review, or that you also reduce the administrative permit to $200 to reflect, because it's the same, basically the same standards and the same performance criteria. And then, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, just a consideration. This will take me just a few minutes to clean up. As a consideration, maybe you could look at maybe continuing this to just a little bit later in your meeting, and we'll come back with a cleaned resolution for you, or tabling this if legal deems appropriate, or.
I think if they just adopt the motion, we can fix it later, and the chair can sign it.
And Mr. Vihil and Commissioners, in listening to Manager Archuleta's thoughts on as far as the major development permit, I really feel that we should stay or go at least up to 750 to 1,000 versus the 500. Commissioner or Manager Archuleta has a good point. If someone with a major development can afford millions and millions of dollars, I understand the need for a lot of staff time. And so I would agree on upping that up to at least $750, Commissioner Barone. Commissioners.
If we can put it on the screen there and take the 500 off.
And then Commissioner Barone also
on the special use permit, I would agree at 250.
Yeah. Mr. Sanchez, if you can reduce your, I don't know if you can do that, reduce so that we can see the entire. Okay. Commissioners, everything else is fine. Staff, any other arguments on your behalf?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, no, and if need be further explanation, we certainly can give you the definition of a major development to further justify the possibility of a $750 fee, if you would like that.
Okay. I believe the majority of the commission is fine with that at this point. Okay, there we have it. Any other comments, commissioners? From the public? Ms. O'Donnell?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman.
Good morning.
Could you explain why there's no publication and notice fee? It would seem like that would be a justifiable expense to put in there, because why should the county absorb those costs of publication and notification? So I think they should be put in there. I'd like to hear why they're not.
Okay, staff.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, let me just bring something to your attention right quick. And this may be adequate, sufficient language to cover the notice requirements or the notification requirements. Planning staff, again, just wanted to be specific to make sure that language was included that spoke along the lines of passing the notification requirements, obviously to the neighborhood, to the proposed neighborhood overlays. And then one of the things that it talks about in terms, within our existing regulations, it also talks about that the, under public notice, it states, and this is specific to Article 6, neighborhood zone overlays, more specific to Section 6.3, letter 6.3.2, review and approval procedure for rezoning, which I would suspect would be an overlay. Under Section D, it says public notice. Public notice of the hearing shall be made in conformance with Section 7.1, and all costs for giving meeting the notice shall be the responsibility of the applicant. So it appears that the language is already in the land use regulations. I just wanted to make sure that it was clarified, and maybe that we included it in the fee schedule, but I feel comfortable that the language is already there to, at minimum, pass the notification requirements onto the applicant.
Mr. Malone.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to confirm Mr. Vihil's observation that the land use code that will become effective on July 11th requires that the applicant pay notice requirements. It doesn't need to be in the fee schedule. In fact, it can't be, because you don't know what the notice requirements are going to be. It varies from application to application. There may be 3 mailings, there may be 1 mailing, there may be 500 mailings. It just depends upon the application.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. In conclusion, if I could state for the record, based on Commissioner Baroni's recommendations and further supported by you, Mr. Chairman Romero, I would like to reintroduce or restate the proposed fees with the fee schedule into the record, if I may, before you entertain a motion or anything along those lines. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, based on your discussion here today, it is staff's understanding that you would like to propose, or you would like the zoning clearance application to remain at $150. Staff's understanding that you would like the home occupation fee to be $25. Staff's understanding that the temporary permit fee be $25. And an administrative permit, $250. A special use permit, $250. A major development permit, $750. An appeal, $200, a variance, $200, a rezoning, $200, the site visit to remain as proposed at $50, copy of the land use regulations to remain as proposed as $10, copy of the comprehensive plan as proposed at $10, copies and faxes to remain as proposed at 50 cents per page. The fee for not obtaining a land use permit, doubling the application fee. Obviously, this is at the discretion of the planning director. It is written in the land use regulations. And lastly, the last 2 items under floodplain review fee of $30 and subdivision review fee of the lesser of either $30 times the number of lots or $1,000. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners.
Okay. Commissioner Blankenhorn?
Yeah, thank you for all that. I'm fine with all of that, but I do have a question. The zoning clearance, $150, that's in addition to the actual building permit fee?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, that is correct.
So to me, that's still excessive. Tripling the zoning clearance, which those procedures haven't changed with the new LUR, that's for anybody doing anything. If you just want to build a garage, you're going to have to pay $150 plus the fee for the building permit, you know, so I think that that should stay at 50,
Okay,
as it always has been.
okay. And any other changes?
Chairman?
Commissioner?
Okay, on that administrative permit, you know, first we had no fee, now it's $250.
It's a new, as part of the new LUR, there was no administrative permitting process prior to the new LUR, so.
No, it's
So
there.
this has to
brand
be
new.
$250. Can that not be brought down a little?
Your argument on that, Edward?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, and Commissioner Sanchez, we would respectfully request that you at minimum keep that at the same fee as a special use permit application because it is the same performance or the same review standards as a special use permit. The only difference obviously here is that administrative permit could be approved administratively by planning staff, planning director, or planning designee, whereas a special use permit will require a public hearing.
It takes a lot of staff time.
It takes quite a bit of staff time.
Thank you, Edward.
Okay. Okay, I think we pretty much have this chart ready to go. Is there a motion?
Don't move to adopt.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any other questions, remarks? Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Bacon?
Yes.
Vice Chair Sanchez?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Chairman Romero?
Yes. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners,
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Edward, and your staff.
Thank you.
Okay, a motion to come back with item 7D,
So moved.
Commissioners. Motion made. I'll go ahead and second. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Bacon?
Yes.
Vice
So
Chair
you want us to go ahead and,
Yes.
did you guys type that?
Yes, and this is a contract 2013-179 between Taos County, Humane Society of Taos.
Chairman, if you'll give me a second, we can,
Sure, Mr.
I don't
Malone.
know if we can put this up on the screen or if I just read it, but it is bare bones. It's a single sentence.
Okay, thank you very much.
We'll just read it, Brett.
As I told the commission, my recollection was that it was a very bare bones statute. It is, in fact, it's a single sentence. And after I read it, then maybe Brent can see whether we can get it up on the screen. But each municipality and each county shall make provision by ordinance for the seizure and disposition of dogs and cats running at large and not kept or claimed by any person on their premises. That's it.
Okay. So, Commissioners, where do we want to go with this
So
one?
Bob, what does that?
Well, it means that we have a responsibility as a county to take care of strays. And it uses the phrase disposition, seize and dispose of. Disposition means whatever common sense tells you it means. Obviously, the services that Stray Hearts provides are far more extensive and far more humane, and we've, as a matter of policy, chosen that direction in the past. But in terms of what the statute requires of us, it does not require the extensive programs of adoption and that sort of thing that Stray Hearts does. As a matter of pure requirement of the law, we have to have a procedure for seizure and disposition.
That's,
Okay. Commissioner Sanchez.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, it was brought up that we pay $144,000. So I believe we should have some input in there as to appoint 2 members to the board.
Okay, Commissioners? Is that in the form of a motion?
That's in the form of motion?
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay,
discussion here.
discussion. Sir, state your name for the record. Good morning.
Good morning. Mike Petrie. I've been around the shelter for about 9 years. I see this same problem come up every 2 or 3 years, and I ask myself why. And it's because on the board, there's a division in philosophy of what goes on over there. And when the people don't like what goes on, they come to the commissioners and the counselors who then back them up on this. This is not a way to run a board. You don't do that. I know Mr. Sanchez, if he doesn't agree with Commissioner Brony, he doesn't run to the state and start making up things and trying to get people to put pressure on Mr. Brony. This problem has gone on, and it's the commissioners, past and present, that are behind this. I don't think putting anybody on the board a voting member on the board is going to do any good. It's just going to aggravate the situation. I think what you should do, though, is appoint somebody as an observer to go to the board. This person should be unbiased and a trained professional, which there's about 4 or 5 in town, and I'm thinking of the veterinarians. They can go in there, tell you what's going on, possibly also get somebody from the financial world, unbiased, that can look at their books, see how they're doing there. But to appoint people from Cuesta and from here, you're not getting anywhere. You're going to be right back here in 2 or 3 years, and what you're going to be back there doing now is voting on the $2 or $3 million you're going to need to build another shelter because you don't have anybody to take care of the animals.
However, on a broader perspective, the fact is that, Commissioner Sanchez did recommend someone from Cuesta because that's his constituency.
I understand that. And if that person is unbiased, has not worked in this area, has no opinion on it, and is a professional in whatever you want this person to brief you on, come back and tell you what's going on, I wouldn't have a problem with that. I think that's a good idea. I think you need oversight like that.
Mr. Petrie, are you on the board currently?
I am not on the board. I am their single biggest donor. I hold the mortgage on their property, and I'm trying to advise them on this. I'm trying to get them going. And I want to make it clear, I don't agree with everything they're doing. But I think what's happening to them and what's happened to boards for the last 25 years is just plain wrong. I think you should, when people come to you and complain, and these people are just people with axes to grind, they're not there to try to make this shelter better. They're there to try to make these people miserable, try to make you all miserable, and sit here and, like I say, do this every 2 or 3 years. This does not serve the community, and it does not serve the animals at all. Who's been to the shelter? Dan's been to the shelter, I know. Okay, and Tom, and what did you think of the shelter? When did you go? Was it lately after all this blew up? And Commissioner Brony, what did you think? What was your opinion?
I thought it was good.
It was clean?
Getting taken care of.
Exactly. Things are going along. I mean, are they fulfilling your contract? They have a contract with you. Are they fulfilling your contract? I mean,
believe so.
Commissioner Sanchez.
Commissioners, you had just quoted earlier saying that we've had problems. We've had problems there, okay? We've had a lot of lost volunteers.
Right.
So
it's because
obviously there's something wrong there because volunteers, they're not getting paid for it, and why lose all that knowledge that you have?
Because the volunteers there, and this has been a problem that no board, not the one I was on and not this one, can get past, is that the people that work there, the volunteers that go there, think they have a say on how to run it. It's if your people from the road department came in here and got all over you and said, I want you to do this, I want you to do that, I don't agree with what you're doing. This is what the volunteers are doing. They're not following the chain of command, if you will. And when they get upset, when a dog is euthanized or a cat is euthanized, they just go off. And they come to you, and this is where we are.
Mr. Chairman, also let me just go back here. I was a former mill supervisor at the mine.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Right.
You know what I did?
What'd you do?
I listened to my workers.
Right.
And also I listened to my road crew.
Right.
And I listened to my county employees.
Right.
We may not have the correct answers, but to listen to your folks that are below you, that are working for you, sometimes you pick up a lot of knowledge. I know I have.
I agree with you 100%. I have 15 employees, and I listen to them. So to me,
I believe we need to put somebody on the board. And
hold on a second, Mr. Petrie.
Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
I think we have a motion. Let's vote on it.
Mr. Archuleta, before we make a decision.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, just to answer Mr. Petrie's questions, when I first came in as the county manager for Taos County, I actually spent a half a morning over there actually going through the animal shelter and Stray Hearts, talking to staff and getting a tour of that. Since then, I've been involved with the regulations for the land use. Jan has been a part of that board and has been a major contributor to that. I've kept, probably monthly contact with them and what's been going down there. And what I've heard from the commission and what I've heard from the community and what I've heard from some of the people making complaints and some of the people that, like Trish Hernandez and some of these other people that actually stand behind what Stray Hearts is that the program is is a good functional program at Straight Hearts at this point. But what seems to be happening is that, yes, every 2 to 3 years, unfortunately, there continues to be an uprise, and I'm not sure if it's change in philosophy, I'm not sure if it's a change in management or what exactly happens. And unfortunately, the commission, who are stewards of the community and who have to listen to their constituents, get the complaints. My email has been inundated with probably 150 emails that have just come in on a weekly basis and has gone to all the commissioners on a weekly basis. And what the commission is trying to do is say, what can we do to try to make this better and so that we can keep more informed throughout the year? I don't think that the commission is asking that they be put on the board. I'm not sure that they're asking that, you know, their friends be put on the board. What they're asking is, and they're probably going to look back at myself and staff, is that who is out there in the community, like possibly Ms. Hernandez or like Dr. Hawley or like somebody else, a veterinarian from the local community, that can actually be on the board. And the reason they're asking that is, again, because they're financially contributing to that. You're financially contributing also, and you have the lease to the board or the lease to the property or whatever you have. And because of that, I mean, you have a certain say-so with that, and that's, I think, the only thing that the commission's asking for at this point. Again, you know, when I met with Jan last week, I basically informed her that this was where the commission was going, what was going on. Jan initially said, you know, Steve, maybe we'll just revert back to an independent board and we'll just keep doing our own thing and we won't handle those for the community. And I said, well, then let me know so that we can move forward and figure out what we need to do as the county manager and the steward of our constituents' money, because it is the constituents' money. It is taxpayers' dollars that are going in there. One of the things that I asked her to consider, and I haven't even brought this in front of the board, but as a representative, I said, well, what if we get one from the county, one from the town? Would you consider that? She says, well, we're more amenable to that. But I think what we're trying to do is figure out an avenue for this to continue to move forward and not move backwards. And at this point, it's just continuing to move backwards. As you're aware, and everybody else is aware, I've talked to board members about this, everybody's lawyering up right now. And monies are being spent on attorneys. And, you know, for that reason, I'm you know, sort of taken back as to why would you guys even fight the commission on this when actually the commission is the one that's spending these tax dollars to make sure that this shelter remains open and continues moving forward. And maybe if the commission has a representative on there, these other people that have hired attorneys to fight you guys, and you guys have hired attorneys to fight them, and then there's individual veterinarians that have hired attorneys to protect themselves from their license, maybe everybody will sort of back off and say, well, now we actually have somebody who's going to be overseeing that. And so that's, you know, my suggestion. I don't think it's off the wall. I think it's pretty, you know, pretty ingenious of the commission to move in that direction. And, you know, again, yes, if, you know, I took over a $1 million program on Ancianos today. You know, we took over another $1 million program, the housing department, a year ago. And so we'll do what we need to do within Taos County. But we also would like to partner with you guys and make sure that this moves forward.
Commissioner Blankenhorn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks for coming, Mike, you know, and thank you so much for all of your contributions to the animal issues in Taos County and other nonprofits too. I think we're on the same page here. You know, you talked about unbiased, knowledgeable observers. Well, that's what we're talking about. You know, we're not talking about
trained.
Yeah, and trained, but there are a lot of
trained in college.
Right,
you know?
Exactly. And so I think that within our community, there's a goodly number of such potential candidates, and to the extent that the town and the county can make those appointments with the collective wisdom of the elected bodies, I think it's going to improve operations, and I think that in the long run, you're going to see less of these kinds of blow-ups. It's just a matter of better governance. That's all we're looking for, and I think that's what you're looking for too.
I agree with you. And there again, I say, fine, appoint somebody. They need to be able to say no to that person, though. If they know this person's biased, it needs to be a professional person, unbiased, that you will get a good report, good or bad, either way, but it's a good, honest report.
Well, that's what
I think they should have the right to say, no, pick somebody else. Until everybody agrees that, okay, this person is good for this. I don't see any problem with that.
We can't carry on an argument, but what we're looking for is the governmental entities having that oversight, and I do think it's appropriate in this situation. We have a motion and a second.
You're going to change your motion somewhat?
Actually, it's Commissioner Sanchez's motion,
okay.
And I think it would serve the same purpose to move to adopt the contract as proposed. Because that includes the provision for the two appointments. Yes.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, to add to that, the person that I've got in question in my district is very knowledgeable in handling animals, stray animals.
You will train?
So let's go ahead. I'll just go ahead and make the motion that we, the county, appoint 2 individuals to this. That work?
The provisions of the contract.
As set forth in the contract proposed by the county attorney.
Okay. Now, the contract, is it on a month-to-month basis, or is it an annual contract?
Mr. Chairman, the term of the contract is 1 year, but it has a 30-day termination clause, which is the effect of being month to month.
Okay. Thank you very much. Motion has been made, seconded. Any other questions or comments? If not, Madam Clerk.
Comments?
With respect to what Mike Petrie said, we're not in disagreement about this. I think what the board might be open to, we certainly need time to talk about it. There is no desire to stay at 5 people where we are now. I have no problem, and I don't think the board would have a problem in growing the board in a small amount where it is still a functioning board. But I do believe that we need to have the right to decide whether you bring them forward. Bring them forward. We will interview them like we would any board candidate and decide to accept or reject them. The only way that this will work is if we have the ability to accept the people that you're bringing forward. It just can't work because there's going to automatically be built-in politics and bias otherwise. So I respectfully give you those terms that I think that we could work with one another.
Mr. Malone and Commissioners Sanchez and Blankenhorn, Commissioner Baroni, just for clarification, I believe this commission is going to appoint individuals to serve on this board. And those individuals should be allowed to contribute to the success of the board of Stray Hearts. What are your thoughts, Mr. Malone?
Well, Mr. Chairman, the way the contract is drafted, the county would have the power to appoint 2 board members. It would not be subject to approval.
Okay.
Contracts can always be amended or revised, but the way it's currently drafted and currently in front of you is an appointment without requirement for approval, and there's a provision for whatever appropriate bylaw changes might be necessary at the Humane Society to effectuate that, and I think September 1st would be a total of 90 days for that to happen.
Thank you, Mr. Malone. And so, Commissioner Sanchez, you have understood it as well in making your motion as explained by Mr. Malone, and Commissioner Blankenhorn, you understand it as well, that if this commission makes those recommendations, that's who we expect to serve, correct?
Yeah, yes, Mr. Chairman, I do understand it in that manner. I understand the current board's concerns that, that your elected officials are going to end up appointing people that you're not going to be able to work with, but that, I honestly do not believe that that's going to be the result. We are going to have to make these decisions quite carefully. And we're going to have discussions with our constituents and knowledgeable people in the area, including board members, when we make these decisions. We're not going to do this haphazardly and just pick people who maybe have a bone to pick or a separate agenda. We're going to really be careful about trying to choose people that are going to help the governance, not hinder it.
Okay. Anyone else who wishes to speak? Sir, go ahead and come forward.
Good afternoon. My name's Gary Storch. I've lived in town 45 years here. I'm presently a board member, secretary of the board since November. I have followed the board. I've been a supporter of Stray Hearts for a long, long time. What I have found in all the years, we've had good executive directors, bad executive directors. We've had good board members, we've had bad board members. It's like anything else that you deal with. But I'm going to basically, Mr. Archuleta made a statement a moment ago, and his statement was that in your organization, you're trying to hire licensed and professional people to run your organization, to work within your organization. This is the first time ever that we have an executive director who's not from here, who has 45 years plus working in animal shelters, executive direction, and under the auspices of the ASPCA. This woman has brought on, the first time ever, a veterinarian and gotten grant money to bring in a veterinarian, which we have to find the matching money. We don't use your money for our veterinarian. That's not what happens. What I find is a real problem, and this has been going on forever, it is the same people in this town. Everybody loves the animals. Nobody's saying nobody dislikes the animals. But everybody has, in town, the lay people, have their own attitude how the shelter should be run. The shelter's never been run under any professional auspices or any direction. When they hired the executive director and when they got brought on the veterinarian, it was to be run as a legitimate organization, as shelters are run nationwide. I'm going to say this is the same people, the usual suspects, who don't like the way things are being run because they are on the outside and they don't like the fact that things are being done differently. I take one thing personally, and I take it real personally, that when this started and these people came into the county and complained, Mr. Blankenhorn automatically said, we have a dysfunctional board. I really take offense at that. I don't think I am a dysfunctional person or I work with a dysfunctional board. How can you basically say that when you find these allegations and none of the allegations have documented evidence? By the time we finish this and we go through all of this, all of these allegations, and that's what they are, as allegations, are going to be found to be unfounded and they're going to be found to be untrue. I'm sorry, the people that have brought you these allegations do have an axe to grind. They do have a personal stake because their situation outside, their so-called, what they call their power, is being diffused and taken away because they don't like the way the shelter is being run. Well, take a good look at the shelter. It's the first time you've ever had a veterinarian, and it's the first time you've ever had an executive director who has 45 plus years experience. Now, as a board member, you want to basically appoint somebody without us approving it? As a board member, I can't sit back and approve somebody that's part of the original complainants, that people who are stirring this pot because they feel they have been left out in the cold because they don't like the way the shelter's being run. It's the same thing with you. You basically run the county. There are people out there that don't like the way the county are being run, and they complain also. This is a business that we're running. If you basically step in here as a government agency and try to undo the things that have taken place, this is the first time ever that this shelter is being run professionally. If you want to include your people, politics, or whatever else in there, go for it. But I really think you're doing the shelter and the community and everybody here a disservice. If you think that I'm incapable and I'm dysfunctional, I leave you at that. I thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Storch. Okay, anyone else? If not, Madam Clerk, sir, go ahead. Go ahead, hold on a second.
Sorry. My name's Harvey Yoakum. I'm one of the new board members. I've been in Taos about a year, so I'm an outsider. But I've watched what's transpired because I started as a volunteer, and I've watched what transpired. Mr. Archuleta mentioned everybody lawyering up, right? That's a huge issue. And that's what's actually happened because of false allegations. Our veterinarian, for instance, has 35 years of an impeccable record. Impeccable. He is a shelter veterinarian. He came highly represented. He was vetted. Now this gentleman is fighting for his career. We've taken him totally off his task, which was helping the animals, and he has done wonders. I've worked side by side with him. I've assisted him. The same thing happened with Ms. Gordon. That's why people are lawyered up, to take care of these false allegations, which has taken money and time away from what the shelter is there for. There wouldn't be lawyered up if these false allegations hadn't happened. As this transpires, as Mr. Storch said, these things will all come out to light and it'll all be over with. It is not a dysfunctional board. It's a united board. It's a united shelter. And anybody that's been there will see exactly the positive changes that have happened there. So if you take that into consideration as you make this decision, this shelter can move forward, but we need to get back to the task of running a shelter, finding the funds to run the shelter, donations, et cetera, that are the primary way that we keep this shelter going. So with respect, I ask you to look at that and take that into consideration. The 5 board members that are there now will take and will vet anybody that comes forward, anybody you present, with an unbiased look and for the betterment of that shelter. I appreciate your time.
Thank you very much, Madam
Mr.
Clerk.
Chairman, real quick, just yeah, we're not looking to undo any of the good stuff that's been done, and I think we all have the same hopes here for the future. And Gary, I certainly didn't mean that as any personal insult to you. I got a lot of, I've known you for years. I've got faith in your competence. I think my comment was there's a level of dysfunction, and it came from knowing that there had been like 27 volunteers who'd been banned from the property. So, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Madam Clerk.
Yes.
Yes.
Abstain.
Yes. Okay. We'll move on to item 8B, resolution number 2014-29, declaring July 14th through the 18th, 2014 as New Mexico Hunger Week. Mr. Trujillo, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, audience. I have before you in your package, there's a resolution requesting to declare July 14th through July 18th New Mexico Hunger Week. The Area Agency on Aging is sponsoring a summit on 17th and 18th at Isleta Pueblo, where most of the congressional delegation is going to be present to promote and to try to assist with the hunger issues that we have in New Mexico. Luna County and Taos County are probably the highest in the state for children with hunger issues. It's a major issue. Now that I've been involved with the senior program, it's a major issue because I've been able to go to a lot of the sites and see the individuals who are homebound who most of the time just get 1 meal a day, and if it wouldn't be for the senior program, they wouldn't eat. So we do have a hunger issue in New Mexico, and in collaboration with the Area Agency on Aging, I am respectfully requesting that you adopt this resolution and promoting and making July 14th through the 18th New Mexico Hunger Week. And I stand for questions from the commission. If you'd like for me to read the resolution out loud, I can, but I stand for questions.
Okay, commissioners?
So move for approval, Mike. I thank you for moving this forward. This is one of them things in our community that we really need to bring awareness to, so thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Commissioner Blankenhorn.
Yes.
Vice Chair Sanchez.
Yes.
Commissioner Romero.
Yes.
Chairman Romero.
Yes. We'll move on to item 9, Department Matters, discussion, consideration, decisions regarding the following. Item A, approval of purchase of food with Cisco New Mexico through the Cooperative Educational Services, CES. Mr. Trujillo.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, again, as you know, today was our startup date to officially take over the senior program in Taos County. We are open. We are providing services, except that we do need to approve a purchase order to start purchasing food from our CES contractor through Noble Cisco. And I do have with us today Ms. Lori O'Rourke and Mr. David Chavez, who are representative for CES, which is a cooperative educational program, right? Purchasing, so for the state. So if I can have them come up here and give you a little presentation on what they provide for us and what they're going to provide for us when we start purchasing food for our senior programs. Mr. Chavez?
And Chairman and Mike, I'd just like to turn to Mr. Malone, and I just want to ask the question, because they are a CES provider, is the reason we don't have to go out to bid or RFP, or correct?
Commissioner Barone, that's correct. There's a specific statutory provision that a cooperative purchasing arrangement does not require procurement by us. Now, CES does go through the procurement process in hiring the people that they contract. In this case, Cisco would have been the result of a procurement process, and we get the benefit of that procurement process.
Okay, thank you. And another reason we want to go with CES is because of the fact that in the past, the vendors that are providing services for our senior programs do not deliver to the outer sites, which is a violation, in fact, because when individuals from the other sites have to come and pick up food or frozen food, it's a health issue, a safety issue. So one of the main reasons we wanted to go with these vendors is that they will provide delivery service to our other sites in Cuesta, Amalia, and Chamizal, along with Taos. So if I can have Mr. Chavez and Ms. O'Rourke come up here and give you a little scenario or synopsis of what they do, I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Chavez, good to see you again.
Likewise, thank you. I gave you a blue book, and in the insert of the blue book, you have an overview of cooperative educational services. So the initial couple of paragraphs there talk about what makes us legal. 13-1-131 is the cooperative procurement statute that's what makes us legal in the state. We've been around since 1979. 5 districts formed the cooperative back then, saying that, or with the idea that they could collaboratively go into purchasing and get better pricing than any one of them could individually. So we are owned by the school districts. All 89 school districts are members. All 4-year and 2-year institutions are members. We are formed through a joint powers agreement. Those are JPAs that go through DFA for approval. In 2006, participating entities or cities and counties approached us about using our contracts. We developed a participating entity agreement to make it legal for them to also use our contracts. In that time, we have about 150 cities and counties that are making use of our contracts. 32 of the 33 counties are making use of our contracts, and we have a lot of cities that are making use of our contracts. On the second page, you will see some of the programs that we offer. We offer other programs besides food. We do we have a third-party administrator that offers insurances, supplemental insurance packages. The other 2 are programs that basically the schools make use of. The food and non-food is a program that is in our office. It's overseen by Ms. O'Rourke, and I'll turn it over to her here in a minute just to give you an overview of the food program. Cooperative procurement is by far our largest program. We have about 80% of our contracts are through, or the revenue that we get is through cooperative procurement. We hold over 300 contracts. The blue book is you can see within the blue book the contracts that we do hold. 85% of the contracts we hold are with in-state businesses. Professional services is another program that we offer. We're able to offer interim finance people, for example. We have a person on our procurement staff that will be conducting trainings statewide. These are trainings like for your chief purchasing officer. We'll be doing the 2 days in preparation for the exam that the CPOs will have to take in January. Staff development and services, we do a facility managers workshop. That's the biggest one that we do. That's a 3-day workshop that's held in October. And then the last page is one where you see the 16-member executive committee that provides governance for our cooperative. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to Ms. O'Rourke, with your permission, just to speak to the food program.
Hello. Thank you for allowing us to speak here today. I have recently taken charge of our food program, and so I have been, like Mr. Archuleta, surprised to see the need for the different, for food in the community. And truly, we have so many schools that especially CES reaches out to, where the students are on the free and reduced program. Much of what CES began to do with food was, of course, through our schools. And what we did was to deliver to the smaller districts where they were having to go out and purchase food from supermarkets, from Sam's Club, Costco, that kind of thing. And there's always the issue with, just as Mr. Archuleta stated, for the senior centers, having to transport the food back and then being concerned with frozen items that are thawing and so forth. And so we started out with having 3 providers when I first started at CES about 6 years ago. And we found that our food providers preferred that we would award only 1 so that they would be able to leverage the prices better. And they've been able to do that. Something that Cisco, in addition, has been able to do is to deliver to everyone in the state. And that's part of their contract with CES. They've made a commitment to deliver to every site that that is purchasing through our contract. And so at the time that the cities and counties came on and were able to begin purchasing also through our food program, we found that the senior centers had a real need for that, and that we've been able to begin to fill that niche. Henry Abeta with the Area Center for Aging has been a help in that, because he has made cities and counties aware of the ability of CES to use the Cisco program and to come out and to deliver to each site. Cisco has been truly, the person that I deal with there is very committed to the schools and to the cities and counties, to getting the best value, to being able to meet the nutritional needs and requirements of the federal agencies, and I think that they're doing a fine job of it. So we look forward to working with the county, and we appreciate the opportunity to do that. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Okay, thank you very much. Commissioner Sanchez.
Commissioner, question for Mike. Mr. Trujillo, and thank you folks for coming on board with us. How are we getting our meals to our seniors in Amalia and Cuesta? How is that happening?
Currently, we're ordering from another vendor. They've been ordering from another vendor, but the sites have to come here to pick up their food, which isn't really a good thing, because it's a violation of compliance issues, because it's a 45-minute drive, and they don't have the proper refrigerated vehicles and equipment to be hauling food from one site to another. So the reason we wanted to go with the CES contract, and because not only the pricing, but the way they worked with us in delivering to the actual site, the Noble Cisco has the proper equipment to deliver frozen food, refrigerated food, and they can provide almost every service that we need for each of our sites. So that's what we're...
And that was a big concern. Thank you so much. Now we'll get fresh food to my constituents up north in Amalia and Cuesta, which is... It's a plus. Thank you, folks.
And just to let you know, currently all sites, we're averaging about between congregate meals, which are meals that are delivered, that are prepared at the sites, and then home delivered meals, we're averaging about 330 meals a day, which is quite a bit of meals that we're serving at each of our centers. So that's a lot of meals. So in essence, to provide a safe means of providing these meals and providing the service, we wanted to go with CES. And again, we're looking forward to the relationship. They've been really good about working with me and trying to establish guidelines and the process of how to do things. And I think it's going to work out real well.
And Mike, one more question, Chairman. Even in the winter months, up in the Amalia, Cuesta area, with the snow the way it is, you guys will deliver then. So, Mr. Chairman, I so move to approve.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Madam Clerk?
Chairman, I just want to ask a couple of questions. Was there a special reason that CS, the first time we used CS, was there a process that we had to go through to be able to use CS?
Commissioner Barone, we have used CES on multiple occasions in the past.
I haven't seen it.
And they have been for, spread out over the time that I've been here, over 3 years. There have been occasions when they were above $20,000. For example, the asbestos and lead remediation that we did at the old county courthouse was, I think, $23,000, something like that. So that came to the commission in the form of a contract. In reviewing the materials here, it looks like that with food, it's done on a purchase order basis. Am I understanding that correctly? Rather than a contract with us. Now, there is a contract between Cisco and CES that we get the benefit of. Okay. So it's a little bit different situation, but I'm glad you asked that question because I think it should be clear that Mr. Trujillo has asked for a specific amount, and for now, at least, that's a not to exceed amount. If for some reason the program needs to go beyond that number, then Mr. Trujillo would come back to the commission and ask for an additional approval for purchase orders.
And just so to let you know, Mr. Chair, members of the commission, is that our total raw food budget is $87,000, which includes supplies, kitchen supplies, et cetera. So we have $87,000 in our budget to carry us for the fiscal year. So by buying from CES, which has better food prices, I think we can, keep our food cost levels down where we can actually continue to provide services without having to come back. Hopefully, again, there are going to be some bumps in the road. I want you to know that this is a new program. I've been learning a lot of things. This transition has been a daunting experience, but I do want to publicly thank the transition team and everybody that has assisted with this endeavor, because I think it's been real quiet where we haven't had to come to you that we've had problems in the sense where actually we're taking over, and it's been a smooth transition. So kudos to our county manager, our attorneys, both Floyd and Bob and staff, that we've all worked together to try to accomplish this, and now we're at the table here. Today's our first day, and we hope to continue to provide the tradition of providing meals to our seniors. That's our goal.
Okay. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
It sounds like it'll stretch the budget a little further.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes. Hey. Yes.
Yes. Okay. Mr. Trio, next item, authorization to send the town of Taos a letter requesting the Phil Lovato building. Mr. Trujillo.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, as you know, we have taken over the center. It's ours now, except the building isn't. So we are proposing to ask the town of Taos to transfer the building to the county, because since we're going to be conducting the maintenance of the building and we're going to be utilizing the building, it only makes sense that we own the building so that we can provide the maintenance and upkeep to ensure that our seniors are taken care of. So I can read this letter to you if you'd like. It's addressed to Mayor Barone, and it states, Mayor Barone, the Taos County Board of Commissioners are respectfully requesting your assistance in acquiring and transferring the Phil Lovato Senior Center for use by the newly created Taos County Senior Program. The building was built in 1986 with funds from a community development block grant in the State of New Mexico Agency on Aging. The building has been utilized to feed and provide to feed and provide activities since 1987 as a nonprofit agency and has had a long-term relationship with the local communities. The building has addressed the needs of the seniors of our region during that time, and Taos County will continue that tradition when it takes over the program on July 1st, which is today, 2014. We understand that the process could take a while if it is approved by the Town Council and the Department of Finance Administration, as it would be a government-to-government transfer. As you are well aware, Taos County does not have the necessary funding mechanisms in place to purchase new buildings, and since this building was originally built to be utilized for this purpose, it would only make sense for the town to work with the county in acquiring this building to continue to use for its intended purpose. And then any assistance that you can provide regarding this matter is greatly appreciated, and we await your response. So I stand for questions again if there's any.
Okay, commissioners?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like for the mayor, commissioner to really push for this one. Good.
Part of it leaves.
You want to make a motion, Commissioner Barone?
I don't think you have to abstain.
I'll make a motion. It's a well-written letter, and I hope it's well received. Thank you.
Okay. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Reagan.
Yes.
Vice Chair Sanchez.
Yes.
Commissioner Brooks.
Yes.
Chairman Lopez.
Yes. Okay. We'll move on to item 10A. This is County Manager's Report. Mr. Archuleta. Matters, discussion, considerations, decisions regarding the following: request for county offices to be closed from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. on August 20th, 2014 for Taos County Employee Appreciation Day.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, good morning. As the manager, we're respectfully requesting that we close Taos County offices on, again, August 20th from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. This would give an opportunity for our staff to have a summer picnic, to get together and to have somewhat of a social. We would also invite the commission to definitely participate in that. It was a very nice event last year. We actually had individuals from our county staff that got together, formed a little band, and actually played music. We had a tug of war, of course, the road crew, who I think most of the guys are about 300 pounds and full of beef, won that. I don't care how many other people we put on the other side of the string, they continue to pull everybody on over to their side. There's events like volleyball events, softball events that occur during this time. The staff just come together to enjoy themselves, blow off a little steam, and move forward for the new year in that. And so we're requesting approval of that. I do want to alert the commission that last year we did have one complaint. It was an individual who was coming to do county business, and I think that we have to publicize it a little bit better because that was the time that he had set aside to come here and do that. And so maybe we should need to get it out a little bit more on the radio stations and the news media if the commission so chooses to allow the staff to do this event.
Okay, commissioners?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Mr. Archuleta, this is something that I've been thinking of also. This is a great idea for our employees. But also, I'd like to, what are the chances of having a Christmas party for our employees? I know working at the mine, we'd come up to the Sagebrush or any other places to have a dinner, dance, and something for Christmas. I think our employees deserve it. They work hard. We used to do it at the mine, and that's something to look at down the road.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, we've actually been looking at that and looking at different ways of fundraising. Of course, as you know, DFA prevents us from actually using any kind of county funds in order to do that. We've been talking about different... What's that?
I think we've had one the last couple of years.
We have, actually, but it hasn't been at the Sagebrush. It's actually been catered by Commissioner Barone and his family, and I know the commissioners have put money in also in order to have that catered. So we're looking at that. We're talking about that. We actually, there's managers across the state of New Mexico that have actually sent emails out to see how other communities are doing it and what's, how they're getting that done. But we haven't really been able to come up with a viable aspect of doing that at this point. But we're looking at that. Unless Chevron Mining would like to sponsor that, we'd appreciate it. As a private entity, I'm sure they're able to.
Mr. Chairman, so moved to approve.
Okay. I'll go ahead and second. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Reagan.
Yes.
Vice Chair Sanchez.
Yes.
Commissioner Brooks.
Yes.
Chairman Lopez.
Yes, okay, we'll move on to commission reports. Item 11, item A, use of the indigent fund for adult literacy and domestic violence within Taos County. And for this, we have Commissioner Blankenhorn.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was hoping to be able to make a motion along these lines today, but unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to. I originally was under the impression that the indigent fund could be used for indigent people in general, but the county attorney, Bob Malone, informs me that that's not the case. He's taken a closer look at both the statute and the ordinance that was passed back in the late 80s, and this fund, which comes from our 1/3/8 gross receipts tax, has to be used for indigent health care. We do have a surplus of several $100,000 after we take care of all of our own indigent health care expenses. And so we're going to still have to make a decision about how to use it. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to use it for these two nonprofits that I had identified. I do very much hope we can find somewhere in the budget to donate, not to donate rather, but to pay for the services that are rendered by the Adult Literacy Center. I just one more time to reiterate that 1/4 of all of the degrees, all of the undergraduate high school degrees in Taos County last year came as a result of this program. It runs on a $250,000 a year budget, which is an enormous production for that much money. They've been highlighted in the state because of their effectiveness, and they need money. You know, they're starving on the vine, so I really hope that we can find that within our budget under the nonprofits. And also CAV, you know, does a wonderful job. We're contributing, I think, $6,000. I can't remember what the town of Taos is contributing, but I think it's 15 or 20. So I feel as though the county needs to step up on that one too. And so I would ask staff to look at that portion of our budget which goes to nonprofits and come back and let us know whether or not we're going to be able to afford those really relatively small amounts. And going forward, we are going to have to do something about this third 1/8 because it's just going to keep building up. And so we're either going to keep collecting it and end up giving it to the hospital, which could certainly use it, but so could our general budget. And so I know that administration is working on proposals to consider how we can refocus or reallocate that third 1/8. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Blankenhorn. Ms. Candace.
Morning again.
Good morning.
Commissioners, Chairman. I really appreciate the internet here because I can go right to the act of the Indigent and Healthcare Act. And I wanted to read some of the things that can be approved. And I know there's a great need for mental health. So this is 27-5-4 under definitions. Some of the things that can be used for: a nursing home, in-state home health agency, in-state licensed hospice, community-based health programs, drug rehab center, alcohol rehab center, a mental health center. And it goes on, but I have heard from when I was campaigning the need for a mental health center here with expanded services in home. I've also personally known people that are trying to kick drugs after being hospitalized, and a rehab center for drug patients, or at least to get a study going. But this act also, it does define the things that can be used for the $200,000 surplus that you're talking about. And I know Tri-State is in the process of creating a house for mentally ill patients. That might be one area. But again, this need for people who are trying to kick prescription drugs and they don't have a place to go. And I know one elderly lady in particular who has been on Oxy for a couple years, and she's now been told by her insurance they won't pay for it anymore. She's had numerous surgeries, and now she has to kick it. She doesn't know where to go. And so these are areas where it could be used. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, thank you so much for that, Candace. That's exactly right. I do think that the drug rehabilitation and mental health are huge problems, and so I think Mr. Archuleta has some comments.
Mr. Chairman, Commission, it's interesting that this came up. I actually had a meeting with Kim Hamstrong this morning from Tri-County Mental Health, and actually they're having a difficult time even meeting payroll at this point because of how long it's taking Medicaid to reimburse them, and also the need. They've seen a 10% to a 15% increase. I've asked Ms. Armstrong to come and present at the next commission meeting with the exact numbers of that. And so in a brief discussion with the commissioner and the attorney this morning, because it is medical services through mental health, there's a possibility that we could look at that. As a follow-up to that, though, we're also seeing an influx of these people, unfortunately, with mental health problems coming into our detention center, which we are not equipped to take care of them. And so Tri-County has helped on some level to try to give wraparound services and those kind of things to them. But if we could do something with Tri-County, that may be a better avenue for us to do it in a much cheaper avenue than having them housed in our detention centers.
Thank you, Mr. Archuleta. Thank you, Commissioner Blankenhorn. Anyone else? Mr. Malone.
Mr. Chairman, one thing that was implied in Commissioner Blankenhorn's comments is currently the third 1/8 is restricted as he's described. That's because of the way that it was adopted back in 1988. Currently, the third 1/8, if adopted by a county, it doesn't have that restriction. And so I'd like to get some sense from the commission as to whether the commission is interested in repealing the existing third 1/8 and supplementing it, or substituting a 1/8 that does not have the restriction to indigency. That would certainly allow us to still spend the money on indigency on all of these worthwhile programs, but it would also free us up, if necessary, to use the money in other directions. Now, the way that it's structured by tax and revenue, that can only happen as of January 1 and July 1 because of the change in the gross receipts tax rates. But if we're going to start working on that, it would be almost impossible to get it done before the January 1 deadline without the only way that would work is a mail-in ballot of some sort. But if we're going to do it at a normal type of election, something that we need to start working on, and I'd just like to get a sense for whether the commission is interested in going in that direction.
Commissioners, Mr. Malone, Mr. Archuleta, maybe my thought is, why don't we have a work study on this and discuss the issue thoroughly? And we received some great input today from Ms. O'Donnell, who's going to be coming in as a county commissioner in January, and I think it's a good idea. Commissioner Blankenhorn put it on the agenda today, but if we could have a work study so that it can be discussed thoroughly, so we know exactly how much, what the amounts of dollars are at stake. And I certainly like the idea of being able to utilize some of these funds for drug rehabilitation and other issues concerning mental health.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, we will go ahead and get that on a Tuesday here in July.
Okay.
We'll do that.
Thank you. Commissioners, Commissioner Blankenhorn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to be gone in that fourth Tuesday in July. I'm going to be on vacation right after our next regular meeting, so hopefully we could address it at a time when I'm around, but if not, I understand. As far as Mr. Malone's concern, I do think we need to make a decision soon, even if it's just by way of advice through comments today. One thing that we had discussed was getting an Attorney General's opinion to find out whether or not it was possible for us to reallocate the third 1/8 without going back to the electorate. And so, Bob, can you tell us about that?
Commissioner Blankenhorn, since we had our discussion, Tax and Revenue has issued its latest publication on that issue, and it has taken a very clear-cut position, and I'll just read it to the commission. It's very clear that we have to use the method that was used in originally adopting the ordinance on page 8, repealing an existing GRT ordinance. The procedures for enacting an ordinance to repeal an ordinance and any election requirements are the same as those for enacting the original ordinance.
Well, it's a sensible rule, so, I mean, in my opinion, we need to take whatever step necessary to bring this back to the voters as quickly as possible so that we have more flexibility in using this money. It's a significant amount. It's about $800,000 a year. And when you add it to the other 1/8 that we have for the second 1/8, which it also goes to indigent care, it's closer to $1.6 million a year. And that's a pretty big chunk, and it'd be great to use some of that for some of the things we've talked about today, but we do need the flexibility.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, maybe we could have a work study on the 8th of July. I don't know. I'm looking at the schedule at this point, the calendar for the month of July, and it seems to be available. You know, you can even throw a couple of other items in there, maybe where we could make the decision. Mr. Malone, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, as you know, I've got this broken hand. My next X-ray is scheduled for the 8th, and I never know how long it's going to take. And it's scheduled for 8:45 in the morning, just to alert you. And maybe if we could do it in the afternoon, that would be best.
Okay.
Is the commission okay with the 8th of July? I'm not sure.
I'm sorry. I just thought of something else, Mr. Chairman. I think Leandro Cordova, who would be a crucial part of any work study, is on vacation next week.
Okay, so maybe on the 22nd. Commissioner Blankenhorn, are you going to be?
I won't be here for that.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Chairman, I won't be here either, unfortunately. How about the 29th?
Commissioner Blankenhorn?
Let's see. Yes, sir. I will be here on the 29th.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner, Mr. Blankenhorn, when are you going on, Commissioner? When are you going on vacation?
Let's see. I just did that last night. The 16th through the 23rd.
Okay.
I'll be out of town the 16th through the 23rd of
And the
July.
reason I'm asking that, I won't be here the 15th for the regular meeting.
So
hopefully you'll have a quorum.
He'll be here. So.
I will be here.
Yeah. Thank you.
So the 29th, and we'll shoot for that day and schedule that?
That's fine. Okay. So the 29th is good for a work study on this.
We'll schedule that and start getting everything appropriately ready for that, Mr. Chairman.
Just might take into consideration, we did move our meetings at the Town of Taos to the 2nd and 4th Tuesdays of every month.
Correct.
To accommodate with the county's meetings. And they do start at 1 o'clock, so.
The 29th is actually the 5th Tuesday in the month, so it shouldn't coincide with yours. But yes, sir, we'll keep that in mind. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioners, item 10, actually 11, be the armory on the cell tower status. Commissioner Sanchez, you put that on the agenda?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, I've had some constituents in my area that were wondering what the status of that, bringing that cell tower down. We've got an area there in Cuesta. We've got two places, one in Costilla, one in Cerro, that they'd like to place this tower. And the one in Cerro, I talked to Jim Bond, and he says that would get a good contact with Amalia, where they're having problems with Latier and even Cabresto, with all the campers going up there. And then another one, and I don't know if we can do this other one, but this gentleman there at the Wild Horse Mesa, he's willing to pay for the permits to put it up there because they don't have any cell service up in that area. So there's two options that we have. I just want to see if we can't talk to Mr. Gonzalez. I know Mark's not here today, but I called him the other day to see what Mr. Gonzalez, the owner of the cell tower, is thinking, and I know Taos Pueblo wants it out of their view. So see if we can act on this, see what we can do, and maybe relocate it to my district.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Sanchez. It has been a thorn on my side since the beginning of my current term, so I agree with you, Commissioner Sanchez, and I was wondering, Mr. Archuleta, if there's anything new on that.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, I actually did have a meeting with Mr. Gonzalez, and subsequent to that meeting, we've also actually provided him locations, a series of 5 locations that we've been working with the community of Cuesta, Cerro. I don't believe the Wild Horse Mesa is within New Mexico. I think it's in the Colorado area, but we did inform him of that. He was going to go back and talk to his family about it and see what the possibility of relocating that tower. In my conversations with Mr. with all the litigation and everything that's gone on, and the tower basically has not made him any money, so he was anxious and wanting to see what we could do to move that forward. And so we will make contact with him again, see if they've decided to do anything, and then get back with this commission as to what's
Mr.
going
Archuleta, as I understand, the federal government has not given it approval
to hang.
Is that true?
That's correct. That's my understanding of what our conversation was about.
And it never will, as I understand.
That's correct.
Okay. So it would be to their best interest to take it down and place it elsewhere. However, at that point, this commission probably should not get involved because it is a planning department issue.
Correct.
And we would maybe have to make a decision on that location or not later on. Mr. Malone.
That is absolutely correct, Mr. Chairman. In terms of identifying a specific location and saying that you're recommending that it go there, that would create a conflict with your quasi-judicial role that could come up as a planning matter.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Malone. Commissioners.
Chairman, under that item, Commissioner's report, I was just going to ask staff, Mr. Malone, Mr. Archuleta, there is a piece of property that is owned by the school system in Los Cordobas. It presently houses a basketball goal, and I know that the county has been maintaining that piece of property. I believe there was a file started. I asked for this a few years back, and I would like to go before the school board and ask for that piece of property. The county presently has, Los Cordobas presently has a center there, a community center, but it is not owned by the county, and it is not, they're not willing to, I guess, sign it over to the county. So I know there's been several years in a row where money was obtained for the community center in Los Cordobas, and the money had to be sent back because it was a facility that's not owned and operated by the county. So just in moving forward and just asking if you would have staff, I guess, put together maybe a diagram of that piece of property. I don't know if we have a plot of that property, so that I might go to the school board and ask them if they were willing to give it over to the county for $1 so that a community center in the future might be able to be developed in that area. I know the county is already taking care of the property. They're mowing it. They're doing everything, and there's no reason that we shouldn't have it.
Commissioner, is that a piece of raw land?
It is.
Okay.
I mean, again, I say raw land. It does have a basketball court on it.
Right. Mr. Chairman, Commission, on this week's agenda, we actually had a similar project like that for Arroyo Hondo. We actually took it off the list. We have to do some more research on that. We've been working with the Taos Municipal Schools. There was 2 properties that were actually given to the town but never recorded, and then we're having a hard time finding the deeds on them. So maybe this property also fell in that. So we will definitely research it and then hopefully approach the school with all 3 of these projects moving forward and get going on them. Yes, sir.
Just like to get this one done as soon as we can, so.
Okay, we'll do.
Okay. Any other commission concerns, items? Okay, we'll move on to item 12, legal matters. Discussion, consideration, decisions regarding the following. Item A, discussion regarding pending or threatened litigation. This matter may be discussed in executive session under the Open Meetings Act exemption of 1015-1H7, which allows for discussion of pending or threatened litigation. Commissioners, Mr. Malone,
to go into.
is there anything under legal?
There's a very brief item.
Okay. Okay, motion made by Commissioner Barone, seconded by Commissioner Sanchez. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Blankenhorn.
Yes.
Vice Chair Sanchez.
Yes.
Commissioner Brony.
Yes.
Chairman Romero.
Yes. Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Blankenhorn.
Yes.
Vice Chair Sanchez.
Yes.
Commissioner Barony.
Where's our lunch date?
She's right.
Oh, okay. Yes, then.
Chairman Romero.
Yes. Okay, we'll look at item 12 again, legal matters. Mr. Malone?
Mr. Chairman, the commission met in executive session to discuss pending or threatened litigation under an exception to the Open Meetings Act exemption 1015-1H7. Only pending or threatened litigation was discussed. No action was taken.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Malone. Is there a motion to accept that report from our attorney?
So moved. To accept it.
I'll go ahead and second. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Blankenhorn.
Yes.
Vice Chair Sanchez.
Yes.
Commissioner Brony.
Yes.
Chairman Romero.
Yes, no decisions have to be made at this point. Motion for adjournment?
No.
Second. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Blankenhorn.
Yes.
Vice Chair Sanchez. Commissioner Brony.
Yes.
Chairman Romero.
Yes.